What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Big Thing. It's the Spider-Man rewatch. It's the third movie. Man, am I not excited about this one. This is a movie, and we're going to be talking about it. If you are joining us on the Big Thing, and you're brand new to the channel, thank you so much. I don't know if you found us through the DC fandom videos that we did, or some of the reviews that we did, or you just, stumbled upon us and said, hey, we want to check this out. Well, we do rewatches. We're doing the Spider-Man rewatches leading up to No Way Home. We're doing Star Wars rewatches for Sith Council. Lots of great stuff going on in this channel, and we're very excited to have you guys with us. Myself, Corey Andrew, Winston, A. Marshall. We're going to have a blast here today. Excited to have you with us. Let's get into this happy horse shit as soon as we can. It's Spider-Man 3. It's the rewatch. It is the Big Thing. Let's do it. Why did they make this movie? There's too much going on. Venom is a bitch. Eddie Brock sucks. What's up, everybody?
I like this new theme song.
You like that?
The lyrics are different this time.
Really
I'm
good.
saying. Well, also, we were talking. See, he's still kind of hulking.
But like when he's Eddie, I'm
Sure.
talking about.
Oh,
so
sure,
I think
he's
they
smaller
thought,
as
yeah,
Eddie.
and I
Okay,
think they thought it'd be
sure.
more linear to be like,
Yeah.
let's make it different. I think they thought the strength of Ultimate was the weakness of Ultimate, and vice versa. So they adapted the wrong part of what
Sure.
made it work.
I need you guys to stop speaking German. So we are doing it is the Big Thing episode. It is the rewatch of Spider-Man 3, the Sam Raimi version. It is the last movie in the Raimi, and it was not supposed to be the last movie, and there was a lot going on. So as this movie gets a horrendous rap, and a lot of that is warranted. So Winston and I spoke on the phone the other day. We were talking about this movie, and he said something that I felt rang very true. You do not feel this way, Coy, but what he said to me was, this movie is bad, but it's not as bad as I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the same way. It's a fucking mess.
Oh yeah.
It's a mess, and there's so much shit going on and too much shit going on, and you could have focused just on the Sandman, and that would have been the villain, and I'm good to go.
That would have been absolutely like I would have even been okay with keep the black suit Spidey, which I have a personal gripe with the design. I always loved the fact that when the symbiote suit is on him, other than like also getting that
matte
Venom
black
symbol, but the matte
Yeah,
black,
it's dope.
there's no texture. It's just the suit is alive shit.
Yeah.
Like
It
that's
needs to be like they've done with Venom now. There needs to be like a texture. It needs to be alive. It needs to be life. But instead, they went with the textured, weird.
It was a color. It was a palette swap.
Yeah.
Like it was literally a palette
Microsoft
swap,
Paint
but now,
black.
Yeah,
They just went like
exactly.
click, click, and they activated.
But long story short, I think if you had done Sandman and even had Black Suit Spidey and some of the repercussions, and you want to say 3 ends on a cliffhanger where he rips the suit off, it falls on Brock, and then we're on to a new movie, I think that would have been phenomenal because this.
Even with the build-up to Goblin would have worked. You even could have balanced Goblin Sandman, which is a
Goblin
lot,
Sandman.
and Black Suit.
I agree with that.
Even that would have worked.
But because of the fact that there's this there's so much shit going on, it gets lazy, and they throw in fucking amnesia, for God's sakes.
I mean,
And it's like anytime you throw amnesia in there, it's like, oh, here he's coming after you, bonk. And first of all, not only do they do the amnesia, it just shows every character is an awful human being in this.
Everybody.
And we didn't talk
Unlikable.
about it in Spider-Man 2. We brought this up the other
After,
day. and
yeah.
you and I talked
Sandman.
about it.
Sandman's the
Sandman,
only.
he's the only one.
Yeah.
Good
So,
guy.
and
His arc.
Aunt May.
Sure.
But one of the things we didn't touch on in Spider-Man 2 that I brought up to both you guys that drove me crazy was at the end of this movie in Spider-Man 2, and it plays into this, so I bring it up. But Mary Jane is about to marry J. Jonah Jameson's son, who
She's over
disappears.
on the
Yeah.
phone.
Who disappears from this movie
Hey.
altogether. What a nice guy this guy is. All he does is try to encourage her. He's around for her. He asks to marry her, right? And this fucking asshole, and I'm going to use mine right now, leaves him on the aisle, right? And lets the dad pay for the wedding.
Yep.
That ain't cheap. That's part one. Okay. Part two is not only does she do that, she thinks it's a riot. She's running back,
Smiling,
just
laughing in
like
the
this-
streets of New York.
to a really nice person.
Yeah.
And then she goes and then she goes to Spidey, tells him, "Go do your thing, Tiger," and then gives him crap about it in this one. Make up your mind, girl.
So okay, now mind you, real quick,
Yeah.
there's 2 things that come to my mind when I think about that. First of all, is the fact, how does Peter Parker still have a job? Because it is very clear that Mary Jane is not dating Spider-Man, is dating Peter Parker.
Right.
Yeah.
How the fuck
That's
does
your
Peter
one.
Parker? That's my one,
You
and I needed it
left.
for that. dude, you left my son at the altar.
For
I paid
this
for
guy.
the whole for
Right.
him.
Right.
I pay him $100 to take photos of
that's right.
Spider-Man. Why does he have a job still?
Yeah, it's that, but it is little things like that though. There's detail in that, and it's just lazy, and I think it goes back to the fact that Sam Raimi was pushed into this movie.
I also didn't notice it because I've watched them all back to back, but in one day. I've never done week to week, and I think you get a little bit more time to breathe.
Yeah.
So I need to discuss the fact that I want to paint you guys a picture.
Yes, please.
You got your Act 1, you got this amazing opening action set piece, which is stunning, beautiful, reminds you why I love Spider-Man. Late Act 1, you've got a science experiment gone wrong with a lot of big over-the-top acting, push-ins, crazy science, and something goes wrong where a likable character becomes unlikable. Then in the second act, you've got this insane opening event in the center of New York. It always kind of looks like Times Square. Something happens, causes a female love interest to be in peril.
Right.
You've got a kiss that happens also at that scene. Then going into the third act, you've got something involving a train, and then you've got something that happens involving Harry Osborn. Which movie did I just describe?
I know.
All three of them.
I know.
They're the same movie.
It's the same beat over and end.
How is that? It's a remake of itself.
And the Gwen
3
Stacy
times.
stuff is lost. Like they throw it in there. They do that upside down kiss thing at the Key to the City moment, but then he uses her to get Mary Jane jealous. Then she's gone. And by the way, he puts his hands on Mary Jane.
Yeah.
We can't like him ever
again.
Well, okay, hold on. We can if we actually explore it. Because if you think about it, remember, Mary Jane's whole arc is she comes from abuse.
Right.
So if that's the line that he crosses and he has to be like straight, like, I mean, I know that's the breaking point for him where he's like, I gotta get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
But like, if there is some sort of proof and we're seeing that he's actively trying to redeem himself and like that genuinely wasn't me. I mean, it was because I did
But we don't
it,
explore it.
But
We don't
never
explore it. That's what I'm
And so
saying.
The
that's
movie
the problem.
ends with a cemetery scene in the rain with Mary Jane
That's
walking
the
away.
stupidest
Also,
ending.
keeps happening.
No, let me tell you. Yeah, let me tell you another thing to show you how
They're the same movie.
How this movie had no impact on me. I had no idea and totally forgot James Franco died.
Oh, really? I remember that. I remember that.
Because it's Spectacular Spider-Man 200. Like, it's literally the cover of a book that I love.
Completely forgot. And all of that, by the way, and there's so much, again, playing into this angle that Mary Jane is a real a-hole, is that not only does she do all that stuff to J. Jonah Jameson's kid, then when Peter is trying to tell her, he's having a conversation where she's like, she's worried about getting fired and how the critics, and he's like, well, you know, as Spider-Man, I get this stuff too. She's like, this isn't about you. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get you like, oh, Peter's being selfish. He's not. He's giving his experience.
Well,
I don't care for
at
what they're
that
trying to
point.
do.
Well,
I don't care what they're trying to do.
hold on.
Well, hold on. You can just give me a second, because it eventually gets to that place where he's starting to get it. But he's giving his experience. He is making it about. He's swinging into the city and he's getting like, look at me, woohoo. He's doing all that. But she's just like, I don't want to hear about it. This is me, not you. And then what does she do when she does get upset and he's an asshole again and kisses her, which is a stupid thing to do.
That made no
Horrible writing
sense
choice.
at
It
all.
doesn't make sense why he
It
would
makes
think
why-
that's
why do you
acceptable.
think-
He's also not
Why
Venom.
do you think that that's okay to do?
He's not Venom. He's Peter.
He's
at
Peter.
that point.
And
There's
he's just-
no
and he's like,
reason
yeah,
for that
sure,
choice.
Sure, lay it on me. Oh, sure. It would be okay for you to do that. Plus,
She's right there,
if he
and
ha-
you're on TV, and you're cheating on your girl.
If he has the symbiote as a part of his system,
then I
that's
understand.
one thing.
Right, but it wasn't there yet.
But Peter Parker would never
but
have done that.
So he's in the wrong. That's what I'm saying. Everybody in this movie is
And
awful.
the opening, remember we talked right before air that like the moment for you shifting was the Venom moment that everyone thinks the movie shifts at.
Right.
For me, it's actually the moment of the kiss because he's up on top of the thing acting like he's already got the symbiote. Oh, they love me. I've got no mask on. I'm making decisions. Everyone knows you're Peter Parker now if you're standing on the edge of a
He's
building
just
with your mask
standing-
off.
Right, because if they know that's where he's coming in from.
They're going to look up and look that guy.
Yeah, right.
And then
So-
he dives
but
in
that's what
and
I mean.
acts
There's a lot of
arrogant. It's
lazy
that
moments
moment
like
for
that.
me.
Well, we've already established they really don't give a rat's
Yeah,
ass
New York,
about Peter
we
Parker
know
being
Peter Parker's
Spider-Man. They did it in
then
Spider-Man 2.
Then swinging without the
And
mask.
Aunt May clearly knows. Aunt May has that Spider-Man convo for the third time. Again, it's a remake.
It's the same thing. So, but the part that I'm trying to get to here too is Harry gets amnesia.
Yep.
And starts to be a good guy again, right? And gets away from this stuff. And then she goes over to go and cook with the best friend, okay,
Come on.
who you used to date.
Yeah.
So you know what's going on. Then you kiss him and turn him back into the rage monster. right? And he goes back into it. He hears Willem Dafoe's voice, and he never comes back again. And then the Alfred ripoff comes out and says,
"Your dad was killed by his own glider,"
which I could have told you before the amnesia. I decided to tell you now when your face is burnt off.
Yeah, now that you've suffered and nearly died.
So much lazy crap in this movie.
Hold on, time out. There is a few things.
You're trying to be nice to this movie.
No. But there are
He's
some,
me last week.
Yes.
No, it's what you said at the end of the other. There are some positives to take away from this movie.
There are.
So again, Sandman is an incredible. I think they did an amazing job with that.
I
From
wish the
start
whole
to
movie
finish.
was about him.
If it had just been about him and maybe he did the final arc with Harry, great. That would have been enough.
Yes.
You also have the fight between Harry and Peter when Peter
Good
is
fight.
pissed.
Dude.
Yes.
Do you know that it's shot for shot the final fight of him and Goblin?
Yeah.
So
Spectacular 200.
Well, no. I mean the fight.
first
I mean
one.
in the
First
first
movie.
movie.
Yeah.
So except it's flipped. So now Peter's the aggressor instead of Green Goblin. The point where Green Goblin's punching through the windows, Peter's punching through the windows.
not.
The
That's
point
great.
where Goblin throws him and Peter hits the banister and flips down in that abandoned building. He throws Harry up and hits
that's
the
cool.
banister.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that was really good.
I
filmmaking,
liked
in my
that.
opinion.
See, that's why I agree with you guys that I think that if it's the Harry Osborn story coupled with Sandman,
Great.
We get it because we understand, because you have led up to that point from 1, 2, that we have this lead up to what everything Harry is going through. So he's kind of this thorn in the side. Meanwhile, you have this other story with Sandman going on, and you don't need the big sand monster. Like the stuff that he does with his hands.
So gorgeous.
That's the stuff that works. Like the big. It's like, why?
It's the Sam Raimi monster thing.
I can't.
And what I liked is that the redemption arc for him forgiving himself for Uncle Ben ties beautifully into Harry forgiving him for being Peter Parker. That parallels all you needed. It's a 3-act story, what are Spider-Man 1 through 3 about redemption, and then what you do is you have him, like, I love your idea of end it on him having the black suit dripping down.
Yeah.
You have Venom in the 4th movie, and that would tie into the Black Cat being introduced, which was supposed to, and Vulture, because you could have had him loving her as Venom, and that's the way the Mary Jane thing works.
This is a comic book question that I don't know. Because I was taking more reference off of the Venom that I saw from the first Tom Hardy movie after I watched this back. Is Eddie Brock a jerk from the get-go?
Eddie Brock is an asshole.
He always is, but not
he's
because he's a jerk. He's got a thing about him in the Tom Hardy version, but this guy's
way more
just
likable.
He's
in the
an
comics.
action.
He is-
You think so?
As an anti-hero, not regarding Peter, yes. Regarding Peter,
because
when he gets
Topher
introduced-
Grace is there's nothing likable
Well,
Topher. You want Topher Grace to get hit by a bus the second he starts talking.
Eddie Brock, as he was initially introduced in that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is a complete tool.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is this thing where Eddie Brock is doing crappy stuff. Obviously, Peter and Spider-Man is like, I can't rock with the symbiote. So that's why when they come together, they both hate Peter.
100%
And they're like, and the other thing that pissed me off about this, you went away from the idea that, again, it is
It's not talking to him.
Exactly. It's I hate you so much. It's like, no, we hate you.
Right.
It is Venom as
Right.
us, not
It's
just.
this thing doesn't seem alive as much as it just
So
seems like
Eddie-
a kind of weird.
In the comic
suit.
books, Eddie is a reporter that is wronged by Spider-Man because there's this villain that he exposes, and then it's proven to be false. So instead of photography, it's he's a journalist.
Right.
And in the comic books, he's like this bodybuilder, angry, rage-filled monster who's unlikable. He stalks Mary Jane. It's very uncomfortable. It's way worse than what he does here. But as soon as you remove Peter from the equation, you see that he thinks he's justified in the violence of saving others. And that's why I'm saying he's more redeemable. Topher doesn't even have that quality
No,
of,
there's nothing
I'm a
about
good
Topher.
guy except Peter.
Right,
Whereas
because
Peter
Topher-
only
and Topher even
Venom
says
only
it.
hates Spider-Man.
Because Spider-Man tells him, he goes, get that thing off him. It's gonna and he's just like, I like being the bad guy.
Because he's the lethal protector. He's not the bad guy. That's what I'm saying is the difference.
Well, no,
Venom hates Spider-Man,
he
but
gets there eventually though. Because remember, he
takes a
was
little bit.
he was a villain
Full-on
for a
villain,
long
but he looks
time
cool.
before they. Right, he was a villain for a long time. I want to say the change was around when Carnage got introduced, and
A little
then that's
before, but
kind-
not much.
A little before, right?
Yeah.
So that was the point where he, again, similar to what you're seeing in these Venom movies. Obviously, you can debate whether they're good or not. The idea of, for the symbiote, it's like, I just want to eat people and like whatever. And like Eddie being the person, be like, no, we need to protect them. Like if we got to go to extreme measures, fine.
So Venom was 88, and then Carnage was 92, and in between there's this great storyline Eric Larson drew where he's on an island and he's got like Spider-Man's skull, and it's like this beautiful iconic imagery. But he talks about wanting to help people then, so that leads to the Carnage stuff. But they planted the seeds about a year later because they were like, this guy looks too cool to waste him.
So first of all, everything that you guys are saying, how detailed this is the perfect. Just hearing the two you talk about it, there's no reason that this story should have been in this movie.
Correct.
It's because what happens is they're setting Brock up that he's trying to take Peter's job and all this stuff, and then it's just so random. He asked Jesus to kill Spider-Man, and then he hears
And God was like, "I got you, bruh.
Right.
Here's
He's
the
already
symbiote."
here.
right, which is such a bizarre scene, and then he just happens to be at the same place in the same, and then the freaking suit. Venom falls on him and gets him, and it's just like now he's Venom, and there's no of this stuff that you're talking about, which is why I think Venom was such a popular character, because it was complicated, because there was so much development inside of it. It's just thrust upon you, and it takes away the Sandman stuff in the beginning, as you were saying, Winston, with his daughter. That scene when he comes in with his daughter and he's trying, and he puts all the letters.
With his ex-wife. Like, I'm not a bad dude.
No, all of that. And when that's in it, you take away from all of that because you're not giving it time to grow. And you look at what you did with Doc Ock, and we all agree that Doc Ock is the best villain, and because that's all you got.
Sandman could have been.
And
one more scene of Sandman would be in the same regards as Melina. If we had a little bit more Sandman.
I think you give more time than just one scene. But
like Melina caliber performance.
Yes.
But I'll give you this, and I mean, we'll get to it when we get to the MCU. I think the best out of all of them that were portrayed, honestly, is Michael Keaton's Vulture.
He's really good.
But it comes from the same area
spot, 100%.
of Sandman.
100%.
He's in my top 5 MCU villains. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'd say Vulture's right, because he's the Green Goblin. They do the Goblin stuff, but with Vulture, which we'll talk about.
The best villains are the ones that always feel like their purpose is real, but there's like a humanity about them where you understand, like all the stuff that we're talking. We'll get the Vulture when we get to him, but there's stuff that he's doing. You're like, you shouldn't be doing that, but I kind of understand why you
Killmonger.
are.
Yeah.
Killmonger, right? And I finished. I know this is a different conversation altogether, but I finished What If.
Nice, finally, welcome.
Fantastic, right?
Really good.
And even the motivations that happen with that character.
You see why I was worried about Eternals, because of the way What If ends? I was like, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
I
can.
That's
That's not a spoiler. That's not a spoiler.
Just an awareness.
Yeah, and for a reminder for people too, because this comes out on Friday. I'm going to be doing my separate short non-spoiler review of Eternals that will come out on Sunday, but then Coy and I are going to be doing the big thing Eternals non-spoiler review, and then we'll be doing a spoiler review. So Eternals will be coming out. Just a reminder to you guys. But
you know what's funny? You just described the Vulture.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's the opposite. Everything he does should be likable, and it's not. Every choice Spider-Man Tobey Maguire makes, I'm like, this guy's awful. And when he's being mean to the landlord, he's being mean to the landlord's daughter, he's being mean to Gwen Stacy, being mean to Mary Jane, being mean. Like, who is he good to? He's not a hero. And that's with or without the symbiote. And that's why I've never really, as an adult, felt Tobey Maguire was Spider-Man. As a kid, it was my option. It was my experience. I was young. But as an adult, like, Tobey's just not Spidey to me.
Yeah,
Wait. When he's mean to the landlord and the daughter,
he does.
But I'm saying he doesn't change nearly enough as he should.
Yeah, and
a lot of choices he makes aren't good even as Peter. And then you're like, because it also, there's the speech from Doc Connors where he's like, it enhances how you already feel. I'm like, are you saying Peter's a monster always?
Well,
and it just brings it up, and then he's like, and aggression. Like, they added a line in ADR.
It's honestly, at that point, it's a massive metaphor for like what happens when people are like drinking excessively, where like all of a sudden the rage monster comes out and etc. Which I think
because the landlord says it. Landlord says he's a good boy. He's having a bad.
Something must be wrong.
Right.
He's a good boy because then even when he ultimately then it hits Mary Jane, and it wasn't like they're having a conversation and he smacks her. But he's fighting the bouncer and then he
absolutely. But I think that's Coy's overall point, which I agree with, is that even when the landlord says he's a good boy,
I don't believe him.
I believe that Spider-Man, who's helping people, is good. I mean, like that stuff. But then we even see in the beginning of this movie, without the symbiote, that he's really doing it for the applause.
Right. He wants the admiration. That's not Spider-Man.
Right.
Also, when Harry gets killed, spoiler alert, for
he doesn't give a crap.
He just looks him in the eye and is like, my friend just died in front of me. He has no reaction.
It takes him like a minute to go, Harry!
He has to stab him, look at him die, lift him before he yells.
He
Dude's a sociopath.
Even when he whacks
Spider-Man, sociopath man.
But even when he hits Mary Jane, he's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and that you could say bad writing with the symbiote, but Spider-Man would be fighting that inside. Peter Parker fights the symbiote's urges. He's just acknowledging it like, better go do some jazz dancing.
But see, this is that would have been the moment that I would have really liked, because even in the rendition of like the 90s animated cartoon, even though he doesn't have the full conversations the way that Eddie does with the symbiote, he still has some moments in his mind where he's like, what is happening to me? And it's like, I'm making you better. And he's like, no, you're not. You're making me
There's no
worse.
conversations in this. That's what I did. I mean, I haven't seen the second Venom, but I didn't love the first one, but I loved the fact that of everything we're talking about here is that there was this conflict that Eddie had with Venom, and it was taken over. They had to meet together to agree. Okay, you can live here, but we got to make some agreements together.
Yeah.
You got to pay rent.
Yeah.
Is basically and that formed. That's what I'll say about that
Yeah.
movie. It formed. That doesn't happen here.
At all.
The second Venom is cotton candy. It's not. There's no nutritional value to it whatsoever. You don't look at it and go, "This was amazing," but you watch and you go, "I have fun watching this," because it is.
It's
what
a weird rom-com.
Well, either way, that doesn't happen in this one.
Doesn't get a
I think-
chance.
and so, what do you guys? Speaking of Sandman, how do you feel about the stuff with Uncle Ben? Going back to understand that because Sandman in the comics doesn't kill.
Nothing to do with it.
That was a weird rewrite. Just to give him a reason to beat the ever-loving crap out of him. Like, it wasn't. I don't know why you needed to do that.
It felt like they were like, we need the Venom rage. How do we make him care about Sandman so much? And then they're like, he killed Ben? And it doesn't work for me because it's kind of like the Batman Joker thing, where in Michael Keaton's, they were like hinted that Joker's actually the one that killed. Like, they have that tie-in with his parents. And I was like, that's not the Joker. Joker's chaos. Why would you make Joker? Joe Chill and Joker don't work if Joker's not chaos.
But
and this does that retroactively where it's like, we should care.
This is why I brought up What If, because this, to me, now, this What If and the multiverse and all that helps this movie tremendously.
I agree.
Because when you're looking at what The Watcher is talking about and all these different universes and multiverses, and it's like, in this version, the Sandman killed Uncle Ben. So it's like, okay. It's like, because I know in another version that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like when it's only those three movies.
Good point.
When it's only those three movies, you're like, well, wait a minute. That's like you said. That's not the Joker stuff and all that comparison's right. But now, especially when you know, at least we know. Well, we do know that this universe is going to transfer over into the MCU. We know. Right. That in that particular universe, that's how Uncle Ben died.
Yeah.
In another universe, he died just by that one guy or somebody else.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, so that's why the multiverse has helped bad writing.
Retroactive continuity. Retroactive continuity is saving lives.
Yes.
Also, this universe to me is what if Tobey Maguire was a sociopath as Spider-Man? Like, it just doesn't work.
But it is. It's like, what if he was more angry? It was like, because it would be really funny if Tom Holland's like, wow, I'm kind of a dick in this other one.
Yeah, right. I said that on one of my shows, and they were like, I'm like, the tone isn't going to work because I don't think Tom would get along with Toby. They're like, Toby's Spider-Man. I'm like, not really. Like, I think people are going to be really upset when they see them side by side and go like, oh, maybe this isn't what I remember.
I'm so curious. We all know that they're going to do that scene with the three of them.
They better.
Oh, they have to. If you don't do it, then one, I don't truly believe Feige has been behind all of this. I think that this has all been a sham.
Because Feige wants that scene.
It was a bunch of seals in a tank, like the South Park, just putting up fucking ideas in a ball. Like, there's no way you don't do it. Especially since you already.
What's that from, by the way?
The animated show from the 60s.
Yeah.
And it was
You're Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man. You're Spider-Man.
Yeah, was it actual Spider-Man, or was it people just dressed up in suit for two of them?
I thought it was him and Mysterio, was it not?
It was Mysterio, him, and there was one other person.
see.
But it was just as like hijinksy.
Is Jake
It was the
Gyllenhaal going to be
60s.
in this movie?
I think so.
Yeah.
I would say the fact that he unleashed Peter's identity, I feel like you gotta maybe have a callback to it. But I've been trying to figure out what the Sinister Six is going to be in this regard.
Well, so that's another reason I bring up No Way Home, considering the reason we're doing this series in general is to relate everything. But is there a concern? Because as we talked about, this movie's biggest problem, Harry Osborn, Sandman, Venom, Eddie Brock, and then you get
Gwen Stacy, Captain Stacy.
So much stuff going on, right? And then you got Amazing Spider-Man 2, which is the same problem that they had. Does No Way Home face the same problem?
No. And the only reason I say no is because the simple fact that we've gone inside baseball to bring Tobey Maguire's universe and Garfield's universe, you are known ahead of time. You need to do your homework to be here. You didn't get that luxury in Spider-Man 3. It was just like, here's a new adventure, but we're going to throw a bunch of stuff at you. Same with Amazing Spider-Man 2. Here's a new adventure. We're going to throw a whole bunch at you. We've been given time to get ready for this. So this is almost an end game to the Spider-Man saga that has spanned since 2002.
So I think that's a great point, too, because in this movie, we'd only really spent like a little over 4 hours with Tobey before Spider-Man 3. And Andrew Garfield, 2 hours or a little over 2 hours before we got to Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Tom Holland, we've seen in the Avengers movies, Civil War. Like, we're so comfortable with him already and he's been in, granted, he's only done 2 movies, but he's been in so many other movies as Spider-Man.
Right.
That by the time you get there, and if that is the overall premise, and they're leaning deep with all this, and again, not a spoiler for you, but like this stuff with the way that the galaxy works and who's in charge of what and all that stuff, the way that they're really leaning deep into it, whether it's Loki, Eternals, like this stuff. They're going all in. I think that and we'll talk about it heavier in Eternals. I think they're going to lose some people. I think there's
lose them.
There's certain casual fans that are not going to get Eternals. It's going to go right over their head.
Sure.
But this might lose people the same way that like when Darth Maul showed up in Solo. It is.
This is shiny enough. They're going to be fine. And I love your in-game comparison because like 10 years ago, I pitched them doing basically a Sinister Six movie where they do it as the Sinister Six of the leads and Spider-Man's the villain. And I was pitching like an Ocean's 11 heist film. So you fall in love with Shocker, you fall in love with Beetle, you fall in love with these characters, and they're day-to-day people. And then they're just trying to get home like Sandman, but you've got Spider-Man always getting in the way. And they're like, we're just like down on our luck guys. Like go mess with Venom. So it's basically like a rags to riches story with villains, and that's how you do the Sinister Six.
That's actually kind of funny.
Right? Isn't that a dope? Sony, come on. I gave it to you. But what I would do now is have the origin story of all these characters you've met through all these other things, but have them be kind of the likable ones with, you know, Sandman, with Electro, with Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio. Get the ones that are the goodish guys, then have sociopath Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, like maybe being too aggressive.
I think that that's a fantasy of yours.
It is. It truly is. Tinfoil hat firmly on. I'm just saying. That's what I would do.
Because I think the reason why is, although you make great points of why he's not the Spider-Man that you knew and grew up with, people love him as Spider-Man.
They do.
And
rose-colored glasses are on.
There's no way that you're going to be able to make him the villain. You can make him a little jerky.
Yeah.
But they're not going to make him the villain. But everyone out there will be villains if you don't get Butcher Box.
I'm the villain if
and I know Winston's been part of it. Corey, have you done it yet?
Not yet. It was only last week. Now I got to get on it.
Dude, I'm telling you,
my
wife and I last night were on the site going over everything because you got Thanksgiving right around the corner. I have been raving to you guys about this. I am in love with Butcher Box. I just love it because it's just so many benefits of getting high quality meat. It's better taste. It's more ethical. It's sustainable. It's all that stuff. But it's just so good. You love it,
dude. And that's the thing. I started it in the middle of the pandemic, partially because I was like, all right, look, if I can get like better cut of like meat, and I'm only paying like because it ultimately works out like if you go and average out what you're getting normally a month, maybe about $20 more, but it's 1,000%.
But it's better and it's better. It's way better quality. So that's
quality.
You feel less heavy.
Exactly.
Meat's really a big deal if it's low quality.
Quality matters, and when you invest in high quality meat from Butcher Box, the benefits go way beyond a great tasting meal. So what Butcher Box does is they source their meat from partners with the highest standards for quality. No more searching the grocery store for 100% grass-fed beef, free-range organic chicken, wild-caught seafood, and more. Their sourcing decisions are made holistically, and they keep the farmer, the planet, the animal, and your family in mind, always delivering products that you can trust. It's all we've been eating. My wife made these chicken tenders the other day from the ones that we got. Breaded them up, man. Put them with some mashed potatoes, and oh my god, it was delicious. And then they have like ground turkey. They have just stuff that I love.
The breakfast sausage is insane.
Oh, and the bacon, it's out of control. I made that for my kids. They loved it. My father-in-law was raving about it. My favorite thing right now is definitely the ground beef. But every month, this is what Butcher Box do. They'll ship a curated selection of high-quality meat right to your house. There's no antibiotics or added hormones. Each box contains between 8 to 14 pounds of meat. It depends on your box type, and that's enough for 24 individual meals. Packed fresh and shipped frozen for your convenience so you can save time on your next grocery store trip. Customize your own box or go with one of theirs. Either way, you get exactly what you want. There is free shipping for the continental United States. Right now, this is a great deal. Butcher Box is offering new members when you sign up a 10 to 16 pound turkey free in their first box.
What?
Yep.
Whoa.
Yep. Just go to butcherbox.com/SENlive to sign up. Butcherbox.com/SENlive. Receive a free turkey in your first box.
And I gotta stress,
you want to cancel your membership and sign back up.
I got the free ground beef for life though, so that's
really good though too.
But I will say when I mentioned that it's $20 more expensive, that's based on me buying the cheapest meat at the grocery store.
Right.
If I go and get the most expensive meat at the grocery store, which is what I'm getting it wouldn't even be close.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, people try. What I would tell you, people, if you're like, well, I'm comfortable with the grocery. I don't know what this box meat thing is. What I'm telling you is, get one box. Cancel it after a month if you don't like it, but I guarantee you won't cancel it.
I guarantee you won't. I thought the same thing.
When this thing showed up to my house, I looked like it was Christmas time. I'm outside jamming the thing open, and my wife's like, do it later. I go, leave me alone. And I'm looking and I'm just like, it was like Moses holding up the.
Bro, I thought that was for just thinking about back to being a child. I thought I would only do that for like a new Nintendo or like an Xbox, but like I'm doing it over
meats
meat.
is Nintendo.
Dude, it's meats.
adulthood.
It's meats and like a Roombas. Like that's like
Yo,
you get
dude,
that,
I love
like a fucking TV, and you're just like, this is my shit. Like
It's amazing.
I got this theory they'll get the further back into the newspaper you go. Like when you get those ads, it's just like they put it further back, and the meats are always the back.
It's really good. So anyway, get Butcher Box. Trust me. It is phenomenal.
Now you guys know I
phenomenal.
still read the newspaper.
That's right. So jumping back into it. So as you're watching it, there's this, and nobody they fake out that everyone dies in this movie. Like it's like, oh, he just blew up Harry's face. I mean, he just blew Harry up. Nah, just his face. He's okay. How'd he survive? Don't worry about it. Okay. And then Sandman. He's mud. How'd he survive? Don't worry about it.
Venom probably survived because he was melded with the symbiote at the end. Even though we saw a skeleton, now he's going to come back
I'm
more
sure
Venom than ever.
He was probably going to come back in the fourth one with 75 villains.
The Sinister Six, just don't call it that.
It's just I actually think that it was. I know people were bummed obviously at the time because what a lot of people don't know, we mentioned it briefly, is that there was a big deal. I think 2010 they were in jeopardy. Sony was in jeopardy of losing the property back to Marvel because in their deal they had to make a movie within a certain amount of time or they lose the property. They couldn't get Sam Raimi back on board. They couldn't figure it out. They were supposed to do the fourth movie. It fell through. They couldn't do it. Toby was going to come back, but they just couldn't get the deal done. So they just said, the hell with it. Let's cast somebody else. And then that's how Amazing Spider-Man came to be.
Yep.
When you look at the way that the progression of where we are today, I think it was, again, multiverse. Who knows what happens if they make that fourth movie. You don't get what we have today. You don't have Spider-Man inside the MCU. You don't. So exactly it actually was the best thing I think that happened.
Well, I bet you if you do that, I don't think they go. Well, I guess Iron Man had already. This movie was what?
No, this is
07.
So
Iron Man's only next year.
So Iron Man's already in production. I was gonna say there's a possibility if Sony loses Spider-Man that becomes their flagship to try and get back in.
Yeah,
because it is a gamble to go with Iron Man because hardcore comic fans maybe are big fans of Iron Man,
but you can be more experimental and your budget's lower. Like you can make an Iron Man for a lot cheaper than a Spider-Man, and they did, and they were not even done writing it. Like that movie is a lesson, and whoa,
they were writing that movie on
the day
while they were shooting. So when you say they were in production at that point, I don't know. I mean, they might have been thinking about making that movie for sure at that point, but it was pretty...
This came out...
This came out in 07. It has to have been because
it came out in 08.
Came out in 08.
Post-production's going to be a year.
May 08. May 08. So they had to have been in the middle of it.
And there's no way it's not 9 to 10 months of CGI minimum. So I want to say they were probably a year into production on Iron Man, and that's insane to think about the tonal shift of this to that. Because this movie has, like we talked about in 1 and 2, all the New York we love. It's got the Spider-Man, this friendly neighborhood, all that. But it's really interesting how we just don't do that with the MCU, and I think that's what we might get back to when Sony has Spider-Man back.
You know what else the cops don't do in this movie? Anything.
Well, okay, hold on.
Wait.
So what? They shoot at Sandman, get their ass whooped.
So, but okay,
they carry a shovel.
That's once, but that's once in that one particular thing. So here's the thing that drove me crazy. At the end, when here's this big thing, and they have this ridiculous news broadcast, and then a woman telling us, and the cops are just watching. Nobody's helping anybody. It's like
that's the most realistic thing about the movie. You've been at LAPD.
It's
that's cops.
But they're right there, and it's like
correct.
And so
Harry, we tried. We can't get up there. Every time we try and go, the sand guy just knocks us back.
I'm only getting $60 an hour in pension.
So there's a big sand monster. Where's the president? Send the jets. Send the jets.
Also, did you notice they said Uncle Ben's death 2 years ago? All this happened in 2 years, and Toby aged 20.
Send the jets.
They never showed Toby from like the here down. They cut to his back for the Venom shot. Homeboy had a belly, and they were like creatively shotting around it. And they were like, that was only 2 years ago. Oh, dude, it drove me nuts. As a fitness dude, I was like, yeah, Toby, go to the gym. If you're gonna be Spider-Man, get some curls in.
He didn't care anymore.
Didn't care. Get a little under chin. Come on, bro.
Well, I recognize
that hair,
dude.
So we haven't talked about this at all.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the juice.
So all the nonsense, and my wife, you get a kick out of this. My wife walked in as I'm watching it, and he's doing this thing. She's like, she goes, "Oh my God, he's so white." and he's just doing this thing, and it's just like, my question is this: I know he's supposed to be jerky in this moment, and it's I don't know if anybody can answer this. I know how you're going to answer it, but does he think he looks cool?
Yes, he does.
Do you think so?
Here's the problem. Here's the ultimate problem to me. If the idea...
It's cartoonishly bad.
And it's so much longer than you think it is.
Well, it really is. And if the idea is that the symbiote is bringing something out of him, and where all of a sudden he's able to charm the pants off of Gwen Stacy until she realizes she's being used.
And why are women looking at him on the street like he's not a lunatic?
But did you notice that? They did this thing.
like-
They did this thing where they tried to make it so not his perspective, they were uncomfortable, and then they showed his perspective and they were like about it.
Yeah.
But then he does that to Gwen and it works. So they're giving exact opposite messages.
giving mixed
They were
signals.
like, he's achieving it, he's not achieving it.
Like, at what point isn't like the symbiote being on him bringing out this? Like, I know it's bringing out this false confidence, but
Right.
why isn't it making him a little more coordinated? Like, he's much
Right.
stronger as
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Why is Peter Parker? Can't he all of a sudden dance?
He's just such a dork. And then the stuff
82 public thrusts.
and the stuff
82
and the Sam Raimi-isms, which are not as present in this one
Less
as
pushes.
it is in the second one.
News broadcast. The news broadcast with the Sandman. I hated that
there-
straight.
there-
And then was Spider-Man. What
there-
are you going
there
to
are-
do?
And
Yeah, there
Sandman
are-
looks
there
right
are
at camera
isms.
like Doc Ock too, where he does the...
You know, there are isms, but
Just
they're
less.
just not as heavy as in 2. But the one that where was I? But I had one that he did. Oh, the stuff find us some shade.
Oh
It's
my
like, why?
God. And
Where are we?
The Eddie Brock, like, I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Yeah.
What was that expression?
Right.
Yo, I mean, look, we've talked about this before. He kind of went Silver Age with this entire trilogy.
But
so
none
like,
of those lines of dialogue are in the first 2 to that level. Like,
what
all
I
of a
mean.
sudden, like, what's he saying?
J. Jonah Jameson does from time to
He's
time.
allowed.
Which, again,
He's
he
60.
is the only character
Right,
in
he's
all
60.
3 films.
Hot legs.
Which,
Yeah.
which has been consistent and been the one shining light. Through
Yeah, he's
all
great in it.
3.
That's why he
He's
came
great
back
in it.
first. That's why we welcomed him.
Dude, the
Welcome to
little-
the MCU.
The little kid with the camera,
Oh, that's a
$100
good
bucks.
bit.
It's highway robbery.
That's so good.
And the film's extra.
And that's straight from the comic book. Like, that is exactly Jonah.
I'm surprised Jonah didn't offer her a job though, because
Right.
that would have been the ultimate like
Jonah,
be like
yeah,
be like
that-
find me in 20 years, kid.
I
Like,
respect the hustle.
I actually liked a lot of the Bugle stuff. I
Oh,
thought-
yeah,
I thought-
always.
I thought it worked pretty well.
The pill.
Oh, the pill stuff was great.
Amazing.
When
Because
she
he has
keeps
a heart
bu-
condition in the comics.
Yeah, when
It's
she
great.
keeps buzzing in and,
Yes.
he's trying to
Not
keep
that
it
one.
down. See, that was funny, and it showed you. It actually showed you Elizabeth Banks' chops.
Yeah,
that we
early.
didn't. Yeah, at that point we didn't really know, and it also tied like yeah.
Also,
you
the
know
Betty
what?
Brant scene where he's like all up on Betty Brant and she's
Oh, right.
okay with it. There's so many scenes where like he's assaulting women and we're like, that's fine. I mean, the times, it was actually only 15 years ago. Those aren't acceptable times. But like, why are we like Toby is the good guy if he's like licking strangers?
And what? No, it's to me. It was less about that because he had the symbiote and he was
Right.
doing that stuff. To me, it was less about why is he doing that and more about why is she hot.
That's
for
what I'm
it.
saying. Like the
Yeah.
waitress at the jazz club, she's like, ooh, like
She seemed a little pissed off though.
yeah.
They
at
did
the
both.
end. Yeah, in
Yeah.
the
They
beginning
did
it seemed
both.
like it. Yeah, it's true.
So here's the
Hot
other
legs,
thing.
he calls her.
I've gone back full circle as to why Parker has a job at the Daily Bugle.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why though. I always
He
thought it
throws
was,
the dude in the glass, and they're like, "Oh, we're just horsing around." He says.
well, it's not even that. Again, you are now dating my son's ex-fiance who left at the altar for you, right?
Right.
So I can see Jonah being like, I need his Spider-Man photos, so you'll never get a staff position. They don't explain why Peter never is offered the staff
That would have been a
position.
good- that would have been a
if
good
you do that,
throw-in.
I will not give you the staff position because of what that is.
That's
One
one
line.
scene.
One line. If he says to him, he goes,
That's it.
"How come I don't get it? I've been here forever. How come I
Because
don't?"
you stole Mary Jane Watson from my son.
Because the girl that you're dating right now left my son, and I spent thousands of dollars on that wedding. That's why you don't have a
and
job.
then,
right now.
and then literally when he comes in and busts Brock and at the symbiote, now it still makes sense where he's like, damn, I guess I have to because he did do
Right.
exactly what I need a journalist to do.
Yeah.
But before
Prove
that,
your
that
worth.
is, that is
Yeah.
all you need
But
to
what
shut
it
him
shows
down.
me is that if that whole scene happens when he throws him into the glass, if I'm getting in an argument with somebody in there, I'm going to throw them into a bathroom stall and go, we're just
it's
horsing
fine,
around.
just horse around. There's no rules in the Daily Bugle.
We're
No
just
rules.
horsing
No,
around.
it's crazy.
Yeah, it's all right. We're good. And then there was just too much. The movie is an absolute mess.
I thought it was worse than I remembered. So at the top, we said you guys thought it was better than it was. It was bad, but not as bad. as
what
you
I was
remembered.
expecting watching it though, I was expecting like, oh my god, when is this over? I didn't because to me when I was watching the movie, I'm going, this could have been better if you did this.
Sure.
That was a really good scene. That moment was good. There was some emotion, and I was right. Everybody's crying in this movie. Everybody cries in this movie. Peter's crying when Mary Jane leaves him, and he's crying at a different point. He does cry when Harry dies.
Yep,
And
he cries when he's happy.
Maybe he's in
Tobey
shock.
Maguire.
Harry cries at one point. Mary Jane cries. Bruce Campbell's scene was funny. Though.
He seems, yeah.
Bruce Campbell's scene was funny.
Even the way that the movie ended. So it ends with them
Abruptly.
having the final conversation and then they hug. and it just credits roll. It was so abrupt.
Yeah.
It literally felt like, you know what?
Sopranos
fuck this.
ending.
After
Yeah.
2 hours and
It's
20
fourth
minutes,
one, by the
after
way.
2 hours,
Fourth.
after
Jesus.
2.5 hour movie to end with the same ending as the first one
Yeah.
and credits is just unacceptable.
But the other, you
How-
said consistency. J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
He's the most consistent. There's one other person that's
You gonna
very
say Aunt
consistent.
May?
I'm gonna say Danny Elfman.
Oh, the strings in this.
The scores.
When he's the black suit
The,
Spider-Man.
the score is pretty great. There's a part where he's with that classic and he's going up and then he gets hit and it goes into like a different.
Stunning.
The music is fantastic.
The Goblin fight in the opening holds up way better than I would have
It
expected,
does.
and it's way more Sam Raimi's directing than I give credit for. So
Yeah.
there are certainly good things, but to me, this is like
just
it went
messy.
from a
It's-
C to a D,
Yeah.
D minus. It's bad.
It's just the Fred Flintstone bonk that
Oh,
that
dude.
turns him into. It's my best pal Pete.
So, and then that goofy smile the whole time.
Yeah, he's such a weird
It's
like.
so goofy.
What was that? What was the character in Tropic Thunder that Downey plays before?
Special.
Frank Lazarus.
The simple
Special P-
Jack.
Simple
Why
Jack.
is he Simple Jack the whole movie? Like it's a really
that's
uncomfortable.
Stiller does that.
Yeah.
Stiller is Simple Jack.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's Simple Jack, and he's like just like doping along. I
when-
love my
when he's-
friends and
when
die
he's got
for
the
him.
amnesia part. Yes, I still. But the the butler. Whose dad is that?
He was in all three, but like he did that was the one moment that like you said, someone's
He
dad
should
got
have
put
played a
in.
droid in Star Wars. Hey, Harry, your father was so good to me. I'm glad. And by the way, I could have told you this 2 movies ago, but Spider-Man didn't kill your father. Do you want me to get some takeout?
Sam's so upset that he hired that guy 6 years ago. He's like, I gotta use him. It's continuity.
Yeah.
Good God.
And again, this is the only movie he stood out to me. I didn't even realize there was any other 2 movies.
Yeah.
Like,
Not great.
No.
I just don't.
He's
it's
got to be
so-
somebody's.
It's the best boy. There's so little redeemable in this compared to like what there needs to be, and I
Yeah.
really was hoping to
Well,
defend it.
and that's why I wanted to start by saying it's not a good movie.
Yeah.
I just remember from everybody really crapping on it all the time and saying how terrible it is. It's like it's disappointing.
Sure.
No, it's just disappointing because there's like if you would have and I don't blame Raimi for this because of how open it is of how meddling the studio was. This was 3 and 4 in one movie.
Yeah.
And it should have just been 3.
I
I love your cliffhanger idea. Like that would have been
Yeah.
exceptional,
That would have been
especially introducing
perfect.
the villains they were going to introduce actually tie in nicely.
Yeah.
It's funny just looking back on this. Spider-Man 2 is not nearly as untouchably good, and Spider-Man 3 is not as like disgustingly bad. There, I think again for Spider-Man 2 it drops from like an A to an A minus for me, and then Spider-Man 3 comes from like an F to like a D. You know, and maybe
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
like because again there were small things that if you would just change course just a little bit again.
Right. I didn't
watch
like
What If.
There's
We
certain
both
movies,
see it as a D. It's just yours was lower than.
Like-
I think we're at the same page. Mine had just been higher.
Yeah.
You started lower. So
there are certain movies when you watch it and like especially for like anything like where it feels like work and you're like, I can't believe it. And that's how I felt going into this.
Yeah.
Watching it though, I didn't feel that way.
The opening act really won me over.
Like I was just watching it and I was like, okay, I don't hate that I'm watching this movie. It's just like I don't like it,
Yeah.
but I don't hate that I'm watching it.
You know what doesn't make sense to me? This is the symbol of him becoming a bad
His
boy.
stupid
This-
hair.
the-
Hair is so dumb.
because
My wife goes, "What's with the hair?"
that's emo as hell. That's
So
not
bad.
angry and aggressive. That's emo. That's My Chemical Romance.
It was,
like with
it
Peter
was,
Parker.
It was so
Like,
silly.
it's nothing to do with the actions, nothing to do with
Nothing.
the character, nothing,
Why
and
is
it
your
doesn't
hair-
work at
if
all.
he had slicked it back and had been like that kind of like sleek, then I would have
Yeah,
bought
that's
that.
skeevy
Good
guy.
acting.
But
Good
this-
acting is done with the eyes. It doesn't need to be done like. And I know it's taboo to bring up Mel Gibson, right? But like one of the best performances I've ever seen in a film ever is Braveheart, where it's the Battle of Stirling, or no, it's not Stirling. It's Falkirk when Robert the Bruce betrays him.
Yeah.
So if you know the movie well, I know you do. So no. Have you know it's even?
You've never seen Braveheart?
Oh my
then?
God, calm down.
But wait, but I'll just give you the
That's
I'll
Matrix
give you
level.
the scene. I mean, it's history, so you
Sure,
know
that's fine.
whether it's
Spoiler alert for 500 years
revised.
ago.
It's kind of revised history anyway. But either way, he gets betrayed, and he's on the battlefield, and when you see, he doesn't say a word.
Yeah.
He's just in his eyes. It's like because the character is just like boom, 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 go for it, freedom, everything, you know, and his heart. And he just doesn't give up. You see him quit.
Yeah.
On the battlefield. Robert Bruce even says it. I saw it in his face when I took it from him on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And you saw what he's talking about. That's what's done in the eyes. You don't need a freaking haircut to show it. You don't need a haircut to show you. In your eyes, in the movements and everything, this stupid snapping thing.
Dude, the hair flips. He does
it's atrocious, and he's doing this
just unacceptable.
This is Sam Raimi going, let's make this fun, and it wasn't fun. It just became a Sam Raimi moment of this. That was the directing was bad there. That I don't care how much studio involvement was. The dancing and the snapping and the jazz club nonsense.
What I hate is that the song that is associated with him going over the da-da-da, like I actually like that song, that remix they did, except because of the action associated with it. It's completely just bastardized going forward. Like
also, his actions in the jazz club while that's playing are even more revealing than the train scene. He's actively acting as Spider-Man in a jazz club. He's swinging from chandeliers.
Right.
He's climbing walls. He's jumping. I'm like, guys, Peter Parker Spider-Man.
No, right. Nobody is like he does tons of stuff like this. Like,
this movie
we
wastes
talked
Gwen
about,
Stacy, which is unacceptable.
What's that?
The wasting Gwen Stacy is unacceptable.
I
like the
agree.
use of Gwen Stacy.
Yeah.
So Gwen Stacy, the beauty of Gwen Stacy is she matures Mary Jane as a character. The beauty of Gwen Stacy is that she's Peter Parker's equal in intelligence, and they did that in the 60s.
They made her like they made her ditz in this.
Gwen Stacy was like, what's that, 67 they introduced her, and that means this was when women were like barely allowed to vote, and they made her a mental equal to our scientists.
Especially
That's
when you
so
know,
progressive. And then they make her a model for some reason.
She's kind of
which Mary Jane actually is.
She's like not a bad person in this. She's just kind of ditzy and just kind of like.
They mentioned she's a lab partner.
And yeah, right.
Tight.
And the thing is, though, when you realize at the time when you saw it, you didn't know this, but when you realize what Bryce Dallas Howard is capable of,
Oh my God!
And when you even when you hear her speak, just as a director, you're like, that's how you used Gwen Stacy.
Yes, it's extra
her?
insulting.
It's extra
you
insulting.
cast perfectly, and then you waste her, and then you make her a lesser Mary Jane. When
Right.
in reality, Mary Jane's kind of a lesser Gwen Stacy.
Because what they're thinking is that because I think the whole direction of what they did with that relationship between Parker and Mary Jane, they wanted you to feel a specific way with them because, like I said, when she's running away from that wedding, we're supposed to, as the audience, go, yeah, go to him when you're not even considering what you're doing to that guy and his family.
Yeah.
It was just the wrong choice because Peter has had a number of love interests. This is a moment, especially if you're teasing the idea for Spider-Man 4 that Black Cat comes in, have Felicia Hardy come into this and let that be, because Felicia's always been a little like she comes from money. I mean, mom money. She comes from money, so she's a little hoity-toity, but she pulls out the bad side of Peter.
Right.
So if you do that and he's leaning into this and Mary Jane finds out, that makes way more sense than him using Gwen as a pawn.
I just thought they used the
It's a waste.
and I think it's also from the times of when they're filming, but I think that they relied too much for the 3 movies on the love story. It's too much about just Mary Jane and just
the relationship's bad.
And
it's unhealthy.
They
hate each other.
I think that the way that they do it with Zendaya and Peter, it's like he clearly is in love with this girl, but the missions and everything else that they put forward, that's the main thing. But it's so powerful that the relationship that he has with her, that it's more meaningful.
Yeah.
And you understand, and when she's accepting of it, and even in the trailer for this new one where she's just like, he's essentially doing this, and there is that selfishness. He's doing it so she doesn't forget.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't want her to forget. So, like, that stuff, it works when it's not like, it doesn't need to be the focus of everything. He's in the dopey scene when he loses the ring, and then the ring apparently is falling for like 20 hours, and he finally catches
that
it.
doesn't make sense
What?
to me.
Physics.
Even with slow motion and everything, I'm like, that would have hit terminal velocity real fast.
time
So
ago.
you slamming into a wall, having time to be like, boop, 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 boop,
And then
boop,
it's
boop,
still
and
falling?
then jumping out and down.
It's a ring. It would have
Nah.
landed a long
Also,
time ago.
he has a spider sense, so he can kind of sense things a little better. He doesn't have Superman supervision where he can be like, it's all the way over there.
That also
Like,
bothered me. Speaking of the Spidey sense, it also bothered me how fast. It's similar to my problem with Iron Man 1, right? Like when I was messing. Jeff Bridges, Zebediah, was it?
Obadiah.
Obadiah.
Stane, yeah.
Obadiah. So when Obadiah.
Zebediah.
That's a good one too.
Like
It's
his
a better
brother
name.
Zebediah. His brother Zebediah was like,
Zebediah.
Obadiah liked that technology too much. Should have stayed on the farm.
That's right. But Obadiah, he even has the conversation with Ralphie from Christmas Story. He says so, and Ralphie says he's like, how come Tony figured this out? I'm not Tony Stark, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But yet at the end of the movie, he just knows how to maneuver it. And it was always my biggest problem with Iron Man. It's the same thing with Venom here. He just like he starts slinging the webs.
Yeah.
And I know Venom knows how to do it now because he's been with.
But they should have had one conversation.
Yeah,
if there was any
it's like-
Venom
That's
voice,
the problem. There's no Venom talking
all.
to him. So if we had known that, I think that
No.
would have worked a lot better.
we could have just had a couple lines of dialogue in his head of like, let me show you it.
Yeah, and and Venom has gnarly teeth, and if he would have used Quip, he would have been fine.
That's true. It would have helped. Less of a villain. Less of a
He
villain.
would have been fine if he would have used Quip, but he didn't. He didn't use it, and you got to practice your health practices, your routines, and if you're looking forward to getting back into, you got to learn. Look, learning new habits that have made life easier, what it's like to interact with others face to face. It's like that type of stuff. It's you want to make sure that you're practicing good health, and you have to. Good health starts with good habits. Quip makes it easy by delivering the oral care essentials you need to care for your mouth. What's so good about Quip, they have this electric toothbrush. It's loved by over 7 million mouths. And it has timed sonic vibrations with 30-second pulses to guide a dentist-recommended 2-minute clean. It's awesome. They have, and the toothpaste that they have, by the way, they have this like watermelon and it's an anti-cavity toothpaste, but it's mint or watermelon. It's great. You really run to the bathroom to go do it because you're like, oh, wait a minute. I get to use that watermelon toothpaste. I love it. It helps prevent cavities. And there are 2 ways to floss with Quip. They have floss string that expands to clean. They have reusable floss pick that replaces over 180 disposable picks with every refill. Refillable gum that's sugar-free, has long-lasting mint flavor, and it comes with a dispenser. There's a lot to love about Quip, and what's so great about the electronic toothbrush also, they have the multi-use travel cover that doubles as a mirror mount for less clutter. And in addition to brush heads, Quip also delivers fresh floss, toothpaste, mouthwash, gum refills every 3 months for $5. Shipping is free, and you can save the money and skip the hustle and bustle of in-store shopping. If you go to getquip.com/bigthing right now, you're going to get your first refill free. You want your first refill free? It's pretty easy. Go to getquip.com/bigthing, GETQUIP.com/bigthing. That is Quip, the Good Habits Company. Gotta love that Quip.
That one I know. I
yeah.
brushed my teeth after I ate the meat with
Yeah.
Quip.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
but real talk,
Yeah.
God, man, why are you picking all of the things I already
use,
use?
yeah.
I've used Quip for a number of years. Also,
great.
absolutely amazing. It also makes you realize nobody's brushing their teeth long enough.
Nobody.
No.
Because
Nobody's replacing their shit quick enough.
That too. And so it has a 2-minute timer, so you know, and it'll let you know, cool, you've spent 30 seconds on this quadrant, you spent 30. So it just lets you know to do do with how you're brushing your teeth.
The
It's
quadrant
great.
shit's super
It's smart.
helpful.
It's smart, and the fact that they have all this technology that they're using with it now too. Quip's great. We've been having Quip since the Schmoes No Days, but the fact they come back, we're having. I mean, look, I've been very happy with. Then I will also jump in once again, guys. Thank you so much for the support that you've shown us on this channel. We made a big move by taking everything that was non-Schmoedown related and moving it over to this channel. I think the channel had something like 7,000 or 8,000 subscribers when we moved it to this channel. We just hit the 18,000 subscriber mark. We're trying to hit 20,000 by the end of October. It's a goal, and then we're going to try to hit 25K by the end of the year. That's what we're trying to do. We would love your support. If you're brand new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit notifications and all of this. Like, I understood, like when you get the Schmoedown channel and everything was on there, whether it was SEN Live, Schmoedown.
It was a lot.
It's a lot.
It's
of
a
stream.
lot.
Yeah.
And then it's also, why am I hitting that bell? I'm getting notifications all the time. For this, what I'm telling you to get notifications for, 3 big things a week, which includes this show, obviously, for the rewatch. You get the Sith Council rewatches that we do, and the show in general, especially when Boba Fett comes out. We're going to be doing the reviews of that, and then trailer reviews, all of it. But I don't bombard you on this channel. We are consistent, but we are also considerate. So please subscribe, hit that bell notification. It is very important, and that way you know when we're uploading new stuff. Sure. And Apple Podcasts and podcast forums. People are really enjoying us on the podcast forum.
Hell yeah,
so it's been going good.
Do you know what else Spider-Man 3 was missing?
What's that?
Quips. There was nothing funny.
No.
Speaking of Quip,
you know what? You're right though.
There was no.
No. You're
I
absolutely
thought you were
right.
making a toothbrush joke, and
I was tying it all back together.
But
Quips.
you're right. He didn't have that Spidey thing, and I know that's the point. He's kind of,
but not the whole time.
The whole time he never had it. He never threw it at no jokes at the Sandman.
Here's your change. It's literally why I actually prefer Garfield over Maguire. is because Maguire had a couple of them, like the "Here's your change."
Yeah,
like
that was a
like,
good moment. Yeah,
like "Hey Gabi," like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I
did like when he called Brock chump though. That was good.
Yeah, no, I Trump was good.
Yeah.
Trump was good. But I give a lot of credit, and we'll get into it because that's the next two films we're gonna watch, to Garfield, in that whether it's the writing or whether that was him doing that instinctively, that was just done a lot better in my opinion.
I'm more excited to rewatch The Amazings than I was these, and that's interesting. Just feel I'm like thinking
I will
about
tell
next
you this,
week. I'm like
though.
amped for Amazing 1.
This is where only because I think it's way more fresher than this one was. I'm not looking forward to Amazing Spider-Man 2.
That's fair.
I haven't seen it in a long time.
I am because it's been a while.
in the way that I wasn't looking forward to this. So I'm wondering if it'll be the same kind of feel. But I remember being in the I wasn't reviewing movies when I saw Spider-Man 3. I certainly was when I saw Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I remember looking at Ellis being like, why do we do this?
Over Sex in the City 2? Because I remember
that
review was amazing.
Yeah, Sex in the City 2, we walked out. That's the only movie that we both walked out.
That review was amazing.
It was really, really good.
Like once I had done the Schmodown and I had like gotten to know you and all that kind of stuff, I was like, let me see what Mark and Kristian were about. And I remember you bringing up the Sex and the City 2 review. I was like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah, that's how, yeah, like that. I'll show you the end of that before we leave. It's one of my favorite reviews. That and the Dumb and Dumber reviews, probably two of our classic reviews.
Wait, the original Dumb and Dumber or the one
the
Harry
new
Met
one,
Lloyd?
the Dumb and Dumber.
The sequel.
The most recent one, the one that they did, Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah, one of them thought he had a kid, and they were trying to figure out.
I don't remember it. It was
I saw it on TBS for the first time like a year ago, and it's not good.
It's fresh. No, it's not good at all.
Good.
We were excited for it, and that went away fast. But either way, there's a lot going on, man. In this movie, for sure, a lot going on. What we got going on. I mean, as we said, we just did this one. Like we have asked this question, so we might as well ask it. I think less than the other two. Besides the obvious ones of things we've already brought up, No Way Home tying into this one. Do we think it ties in at all?
I want Sandman because I think that'd be the only way to redeem this.
Not want. Do you think?
I think it's
they're
possible.
Gonna bring him in also,
there's
Thomas Hayden Church?
There's a very quick scene where it looks like Electro attacks Sand in the trailer. So it's a possibility. If we need all six.
Electro's is in the trailer?
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Very briefly. Jamie Foxx spoiled Jamie Foxx's Instagram.
You saw like a small little beam of lightning. You saw a goblin grenade, and then you saw Alfred Molina being like, "Hey, Peter."
Yeah. And you also saw 3 frames of it looks like the lizard coming at Peter in a room.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to figure out is what our 6 are. Obviously, Molina, Fox, and Defoe.
Mm-hmm.
We know for a fact those 3. I'm assuming you're probably going to end up with Vulture. Because, again, it's Sinister 6. They're not going to throw every single villain at him. So then what's left? What do we want to say? What, Venom, maybe Sandman, maybe Lizard, maybe Shocker, because you had Shocker.
Is this the most complex movie that Marvel's ever going to do?
Endgame.
Yeah,
no way.
Endgame.
Infinity War. Endgame.
It's got a time heist.
True.
It's got
time heist and every MCU.
Because Eternals is pretty complex.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'd say it's the most complex Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I like the Endgame parallel a lot.
The reason why not just because Endgame though, the reason why is that you're playing within the sandbox
that
you've built throughout this one.
But that's a 20 compartmentalized sandbox.
It is. There's no doubt about it. But you're still asking the majority of people who are seeing that movie that hopefully you've seen those other movies that lead up to this, right? You're asking people now to not only see those movies or previous Spider-Man, you're asking them to see other movies that came before them,
possibly before they were born.
Before they were born, and
which makes me uncomfortable.
So that's why I'm saying though. But that's why I'm saying it's
both of you can burn in hell for that.
Yeah, it's a risk. It's a risk.
I do agree, but I also think that Spider-Man is such an icon, and explaining Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is so simple. Explaining Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is so quick.
It is.
The villains are going to be the thing, and that's why I think there's a possibility that Tom Holland goes into their universes instead of them coming to ours. I think he might meet them in their worlds. I think he might get trapped going through multiverses and have no way home. And
I do like that theory. I know people were yelling at you.
Oh man, they got so mad at me.
I like that.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. Oh, dude, Spider-Man fans are the worst. I love Spider-Man
because you said Tom Holland might go to their Spider-Verse.
His idea is called No Way Home.
My idea is that at the end of this Spider-Man film, he has no way home. He's not in the MCU anymore. And the Spider-Man Twitter is a lot. So I just acknowledge that I can't deal with them. I even made a tweet the first rule of Spider-Man Twitter is don't engage with Spider-Man Twitter. Second rule of Spider-Man Twitter, don't engage with Spider-Man Twitter. They literally were yelling at me I wrote the damn thing, and I'm just theorizing. I even wrote I'm just telling y'all, I think maybe. I put all the caveats I could.
Yeah.
It's called No Way Home,
but
and he's jumping through multiverses.
This is all your fault.
It is. Guys, I wrote it. I'm sorry.
Why would you tweet anything?
Who do I think I am?
Yeah, just turn
On
Twitter
Twitter.
off. Just do it here, and don't look at the comments. That way you talk amongst friends, and then just do.
You're smart. You retweet. You just you let other people get this heat.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm up. There it is.
That's it.
You just pretty much stay off it unless you need to push the Schmodown thing. You're just like, I don't.
How often do you guys see me?
Schmodown only.
It's always weird. When it happens, I'm like.
Although I did an Eternals thing the other day. I put my thoughts out about Eternals, and the other day, someone had told me about, which I've been singing at the rafters about. They're talking to David Chase about a prequel series.
Yes,
not movies.
Series
Eternals?
Sopranos.
No, for Sopranos. And I so
Eternals.
So I just my Eternals. So I just wrote yes.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That checks out.
I saw your Eternals review and I was like, man, he did like this. Look at him on Twitter. Look at him making a character count.
I know.
Yeah, but I will say the one thing that has been funny, and you kind of call that this would happen with our Spider-Man 2 talk. We had some people be like, I respectfully disagree with what you're saying for these reasons. We had some people, these guys are effing morons. Like, how dare you?
It definitely devolved from 1 to 2.
That's the greatest comic book movie of all time. They clearly don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, it's not
See, you know what's funny? I saw less of that though. You saw a lot of that? I saw less of that.
When hella people, when it was premiering, or not hella, there was one dude
watching it live.
We're watching it live.
Okay.
There was one dude that was just like, they're boomers. They don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, the guy that called us boomers made me laugh so hard.
Sorry, so the premiere I didn't see the live chat. I paid attention to the comments because I respond to everybody.
Yeah.
So that's why I knew I had a lot of work. The live chat, whatever.
It's another animal.
It's fine.
It was hilarious.
That is funny.
They're clearly boomers. They don't know what they're talking about.
And then he tried to explain because someone was like, they're not. He's like, boomers means this. And the guy was like, no, it doesn't.
Exactly. Like I
amazing.
get that it has taken a slight slang term to just mean like you're acting like an old fuddy-duddy.
Yeah.
But
it was a stretch.
Like on top of the fact that if you literally go right outside that video and look at any of the things that the three of us are doing.
Or perhaps our Spider-Man things.
I actually had a conversation with somebody about, speaking of Sopranos, like, so someone's like, well, you clearly aren't telling the truth because blah, blah, blah. I'm like, or I didn't see it the same way you saw it. I watched
art subjective.
We watched things differently, and so we're gonna have opinions on whether it's Amazing Spider-Man 2, and the New Holland movies, right?
Yeah.
And there are some people out there that just hate the Holland movies because they're the MCU, and that's the only reason they hate them. Like, it's so funny to me. Like, there's such a divide which is so bizarre. It's like people who treat both DC and MCU like you're either rooting for the Red Sox or the Yankees.
Oh, it's Bloods and Crips.
Which is so stupid. But both are guilty. Where a DC comes out and like, well, it can't be good, or a Marvel movie comes out and goes, it can't be good. There's none of the movies that you like.
but see,
none.
But see,
like, you see the most
so
hardcore
ignorant.
DC fan.
I know.
Every movie that you put them, you didn't like one of them, and in the MCU fans who watch the DC's too dark. There's not one of them that you like. Get the fuck out of here.
And that's the thing that's so
second.
stupid about that. Second, when I heard it, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm saving mine for
Spider-Man.
I'm saving all my.
It's such a stupid stance to take.
It really is, in the sense that, don't get me wrong, there's a large chunk of the DCEU that needs some hardcore revamping.
But there's a lot of the MCU that is exactly the same. Like, that's
agree.
honestly, like, for me, and that's why I liked Eternals. It goes away from that formulaic crap that they keep doing.
And that's what I've heard about so far, other than somebody in the industry almost ruining
Dude.
the idea for
Which
press
I
releases.
stayed away from because it was
Yeah,
before
'cause,
we
yeah,
saw
we-
it.
we
I stayed
talked
away
about
from it too, but I like Jay almost ruined it multiple times because he was like, bro, you're gonna open up the internet, it'll be there. I was like, no,
I didn't touch the internet that
news cycles.
entire
I didn't see
day,
it.
and like I tweeted out that I avoided it, and then someone tweeted it at me, and luckily I didn't.
You know what's so
I didn't
funny
see it
though
until.
is that, and again, we're not going to spoil anything for you, but like, even if I would have gotten spoiled for that particular thing, I wouldn't know what the hell is going on. So
It would have affected me a lot more
like,
than
so
you.
we're going to talk about it in the
I'm
spoiler
excited.
review. Like, I legit turned to Kawhi and go, explain that to me.
There was literally like 4 or 5 times he's like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's why I brought him.
I was just like, I was Wikipedia in life.
I was like, I had to pee real quick. I said, I'm good. Koi's there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I come back.
I
and
was a
he's just
blue
like,
link.
yeah.
You came back, you're like, click the link.
Yeah.
Let's explain
And
what's going on.
And that was it.
Just let me know this. How are Camille and Brian Tyree Henry?
Exemplary.
Okay, great. That's all I need. If they're good, I don't give a crap if the movie is complete garbage because I love both of them.
Not good, not great, exemplary.
There's no way
amazing.
any person that sees this movie and says it's complete garbage is an imbecile. If they if they say they don't like it, sure. Garbage is bad filmmaking.
Right.
And this
Garbage
is
Chloe Zhao's not going to make a bad film.
dude. It is so different. Does it need to be 240? No.
That's my only concern.
I'm excited for this conversation.
Cool with
we're
it
gonna
that
have.
it is 240?
Oh, well, that's all I needed to hear.
So, but it's not. But it might not be for you.
Save
It's
it for the non-spoiler, Kristian. It's coming.
We got a lot. So we're gonna talk about Eternals. That's coming out on Monday. So you saw a little preview of it. My short review of the Eternals is coming out on Sunday when the embargo lifts. The Eternals non-spoiler episode of Big Thing with myself and Coy will drop on Monday, and then when I think after the movie comes out, we'll drop our spoiler review.
The following Monday after the weekend. We're not gonna be monsters.
We don't need to do this until right when it comes out. Maybe like either Friday or
because I want to see it again before as well.
I might have to ask off for Friday next week because I need to go see Eternals.
You gotta see it, man.
I gotta see it.
And then Dune, and I'm gonna put my review up of Dune. There's gonna be 3. We have 3 videos coming out tomorrow or today, actually, rather. It might even be up at this point. So Dune.
I saw it last night.
Did you like it?
I loved it.
All right. So we'll hold. Oh, you went to the Greg's.
Yeah.
All right, listen. That's our show. I'm excited. I'm excited that we did this show. Next week is Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. We're plowing through these. We finished the 3. Now we get into Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and then we're gonna get in. We're not doing a Civil War. We're not gonna do Endgame, or we're just gonna do. We'll do the 2 Holland Spider-Mans, and then we'll close it out with Into the Spider-Verse. But that's it as we lead up to No Way Home. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or anywhere that you can find podcasts. Even if you are listening to this overall, or commenting it in video, like it helps. It helps us get phenomenal sponsors like ButcherBox and Quip. That is what helps keep us on the air. We don't do donations here. We don't do Schmobots. We don't do any of that stuff. So we need your help. So download our episodes, and thank you for subscribing. Winston, you got something else?
I was just going to say what we could probably do, because I know that people have already done this. We could just, instead of watching all of Civil War, Endgame, and Infinity War, just watch the cutout scenes of Spider-Man, because I think it's still important to the lore of what's happening with the Holland movie.
Should we do an episode of his scenes in movies? Like, should we do
maybe just adding it to
Homecoming?
Homecoming,
or maybe even before we start Homecoming.
We could do Civil War attached to Homecoming, Infinity War, and Endgame attached to Far From Home because they connect so directly.
We'll figure it out.
Okay, we'll talk about it. TBD. We still got Garfield to go.
Either way, there's a lot to come, and we're gonna be doing rewatches of Matrix, and there's so much stuff going on in this channel, guys. Thank you for joining us. Very happy to have you here. Thanks for joining us on The Big Thing. See you next time.